A win, if you can call it that, for Quebec's English school boards. This in consultation with the Education Minister, Bernard Drinville. I want to play, before we go to Joe Ortona, who is now the president of the Quebec English School Boards Association, listen to what Bernard Drinville had to say about this earlier in the day.
I said from the outset of the Parliamentary Commission that we were going to enter into a dialogue with the representatives of the English-speaking school boards, and I said I was very sincere. I really wanted this to be a fruitful dialogue, a positive dialogue, and you know what? This is exactly what we had. We came to a common understanding, and the English-speaking school boards are happy. They saw it as a very positive gesture, and we are very happy with it too. So this is, I think, very good news.
So, Joe Ortona, are the English school boards happy?
Good afternoon, and yes, we are. We've maintained from the very beginning, when Bill 23 was tabled, that there were several sections in the bill that were problematic, that were unconstitutional, that infringed on our right to manage and control our school system. And the minister has now tabled an amendment to suspend all of the provisions that we found to be problematic and unconstitutional. So those sections of the law will not go into force for the English language school board. So obviously there won't be a need for a court challenge there. I'll leave it up to the minister to explain exactly what the reasons were, but I think obviously it has to do with Bill 40 and the fact that that's still pending before the courts. And, we've been successful in previous court challenges, so they knew to take us seriously when we said that we were going to fight this.
And so this does not impact the legal challenge against Bill 40, though? That goes on.
No, it's two separate things. The Bill 40 judgment that we got was obviously very favorable for us. The government decided to appeal. Bill 23 is completely separate from that, which is why we thought the timing of it was just completely off from the very beginning. While we're waiting for a final decision on the constitutionality of one governance bill, they tabled another. So, in all of that confusion, they've decided to do the right thing, which is, put all of that on pause and I guess wait and see how that plays out before the courts.
So to understand what this does allow you to do, school boards allow to do, based on the fact these amendments have been tabled, give us an idea. He mentioned, I think in the newscast, you'll be able to appoint your own board of directors. What else can you do by virtue of this?
Well, nothing changes for us. I mean, we're not gaining anything from these amendments. These amendments would have essentially taken powers away from elected school councils. So we get to keep the right to hire and appoint the Director General and other senior employees of the board. English school boards get to be able to have the independence to make their own decisions, because part of Bill 23 included in the bill was a provision that allowed for the minister to overrule decisions that were made by the elected councils. So those are obviously some of the major ones that really had an effect on, the elected representatives and the local decision making, which would have been all centralized at Quebec City.
So I'm circling back to Bill 40 again, because for whatever reason, and it's probably false hope, but I'm like, maybe this means they'll reconsider not appealing that. Do you have even a glimmer of hope on that front?
Well, anything is possible, I suppose. But I mean, once they've already decided to file the appeal, I think they're gonna probably see it through. Although, I mean, other than the time that it's going to take to have it heard, and of course the cost of a legal challenge, I remain very confident in how the courts are going to rule on that, because the jurisprudence is very clear over the last 30 to 40 years. And you know what? Maybe that's what we need. Maybe we need a decision from, the Court of Appeal in order to get this government to understand that, they don't have exclusive jurisdiction to implement whatever they want when it comes to English language public education. We actually have a say, and in some areas, exclusive control, which means the government should be butting out.
I will ask because, to Natasha's point, does this signal to you, or do you have an impression, perhaps, given what Bernard Dranville has said, that this government will take a more conciliatory tone with schools and the English boards going forward?
I hope so, and it's certainly a good first step. And I don't shy away from criticizing the government when I think it's appropriate, and when they do the right thing and they take a good first step, I shouldn't shy away from giving them that credit as well. He did express a will to want to meet with us. Minister Dranville did, and he did meet with us, and we came to this understanding. All of that is a good thing. Now we need to move forward from there, and not. We don't want to see this government being pressured by any opposition parties to, change their mind. Obviously, then that's a step backwards. But hopefully we progress in the right direction from here. And as I said, maybe hopefully we'll get a favorable decision on Bill 40, and they'll understand that, Bill 23 should never be implemented for the English network, and they won't bring it into force.
So, well, we've got you, Joe, because you're the new president of the Quebec English School Board Association, but you're also chair of the English Montreal School Board. I think just a couple of weeks ago, we spoke to you about this situation with the OQLF trying to limit internal communication for the EMSB, for it to be only in French. Where are we at with that? Have there been any developments?
Well, we filed our injunction, so, to have those provisions suspended so that they don't apply to us, because, we maintain that is completely ridiculous. And obviously, the other school boards have been made aware of the communications that we received from the OQLF, because if that's the way they're applying the law to the EMSB, all the other school boards can expect that that's how the law is going to be applied to their school boards as well. So it's something that's going to have to be heard. Now, the good thing about seeking a stay on the application of the law is that it's sort of like it's something that is considered urgent. So it's not going to be heard next year in 18 months. It's something that's going to be heard relatively quickly, and something that will be decided relatively quickly. So we should at least, for the purposes of the stay, get something very soon.
Okay, so just to that point, with respect to the strike, and obviously there's a lot of talk about that. You heard, I don't know if you did hear Premier Legault today suggesting the key word now is flexibility. And I was wondering when I heard that, Joe, he brought up this idea that if you're going to be a teacher and go to a different school in a different area, you only find that out now in August. He said it should be at least May. It almost sounded to me like this is a guy telling individual teachers, you ought to take this up with your union because we need to see this change. What's the real story here as far as you're concerned?
Well, to be honest, we're not directly involved, right? These are the negotiations that are happening between the government and the unions, and so we don't have all of the minute details, especially not in the immediate as it's happening. Obviously, two sides have to come to the table in order to reach an agreement, and both sides have to be negotiating in good faith. When the premier uses words like flexibility, that's too vague for me. I don't really know what that means. Flexibility in what regard and in what sense? Yeah. Those are negotiations that have to be held with the unions, and hopefully they're going to be able to come to an agreement soon, because obviously, we understand that strike days are an inconvenience for many people, and we know that that's a last resort, but it's a resort that the employees have a right to use, and they're obviously invoking that. So hopefully there won't be many more.
So we're out of time, Joe, but I just want to squeeze this in. Today, of course, is the last day. It's the third day of the 3 planned strike days. We had heard that, and I know you're not directly involved in negotiations, but we had heard that English boards might get on board with the French boards to support an unlimited strike. So do you have any sense right now whether there will be more strike days in the near future?
that'll be, obviously up to the unions to decide with their members, and I'm sure there's a delay for which they have to give before they go on an unlimited strike, and that's going to be up to them to decide. And they certainly, they're not going to consult the school boards before they make that decision. That's between the union and their members.
Joe, I want to thank you. By the way, are you planning to add any more titles to your job? I mean, so you're chair of the English School Board, now you're president of the Quebec English School Boards Association. Are you done, or?
I would say I've got enough on my plate for
okay.
now. I'm not looking for anything, and if I get any knocks on the door, I may decide not to open them. But
okay,
we'll see.
So we can say definitively you're not planning to run for mayor.
No, that wasn't in the cards.
Okay,
no.
Just thought I'd check. Joe
Not yet,
Ortona,
not
president of the Quebec English School Boards Association and still chair of the English Montreal School Board. Joe, as always, thanks. We appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Joe.